validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity
All right. So we got sound in the most inconvenient way. I don't know what happened with that. StreamYard is not working the way we planned for StreamYard to work today. But either way it goes, I'm not going over the whole spiel again. What I was telling you guys before, I appreciate you, Steven, for coming into the show and letting me know that the situation wasn't going the way we wanted it to go for the first 15 minutes of the show. Man, I'm sitting over here when I got everything prepped up, the mic was working. And then for some reason the mic ain't working. Man, that's gonna see me look. And it's working on both ends. And I'm trying to figure out why is it not working. But either way, we give you guys, luckily we haven't started the show yet. I was doing the intros. I was letting you guys know about one of the main reasons why it's important for you guys to budget your money and put your money in places where your money is making money for you. And I was explaining when Steven so graciously told me that the mic wasn't on. Wait a minute. Is the mic? I don't hear it again. I thought I was listening to myself. Did it do it again? Hold on a second. Can I hear myself anywhere? Yeah, there it is. Okay, so I can hear myself. There we go. All right. Good now? All right. I'm unnerved. I'm like, damn, the microphones ain't working because the volume is supposed to be showing, the volume bar is supposed to be showing to let me know that it's working, and neither volume bar is doing. So it's something that happened to StreamYard today. I don't know what's going on. But what I was saying before everything's kind of like went left field is that one of the main reasons why we tell you about your 20-year plan and why you guys should work on it is because if you don't have a network around you, you don't have an inner circle around you that's aiding you in your ability to be successful, you will find yourself in a position where you're struggling to maintain, because building a 20-year plan takes a long time and it takes a lot of motivation. It takes a lot of dedication, and you don't always keep that dedication and that motivation when you have people around you that are encouraging you to be financially irresponsible. You have people around you that might borrow against a stone and walk off with some of your money. You might have individuals around you that, this isn't situations where somebody's just going to steal your money and run off with it. Like I was telling you, I got a buddy whose mom walks off with his money on a regular basis or lies to him about money so that he gives her extra money and then she spends all of his money. It's not situations like that. There's situations where everybody's honest. It's just that your friends and your family members are financially irresponsible and they pass by you and they let you know that their money is tight because they're trying to do more than what they can afford to do. And because the ends don't meet, because there isn't enough money to get done what they want to get done, they pass by you and tell you that money is tight, and then you don't want to see them suffer. You voluntarily take extra money out of your pocket that you technically don't have to give it to them so that they don't suffer. And that kindness hurts you. And then you don't have enough capabilities to reach your goals. The more money you have in your bank account, if you've got 20 grand, if you got 50 grand, if you've got 100 grand, if you got $500,000 in the bank, you are more willing to take $1,000 and lend it to a friend. You're more willing to take $5,000 and lend it to a friend. But that hurts your end goal. Not everybody is working towards their end goal. A lot of people live for the here and now. Well, if you've got money now, why don't you give it to me now? I'll pay you back. I'm good for it. And they're not good for it, because if they were good for it, they would have their own money right now. They wouldn't have to ask you for shit. And that's one of the things that having a good network around you to aid you in your ability to make, save, and invest money and build your 20 or 30-year plan is important. Not because you're leeching off of other people to make money. You don't have other people looking at you for financial relief for any reason, because they know that you have a goal and they have a goal too. If they reduce their cost of living, and their cost of living is not the base rent like gas and water, but sometimes it does include that. It's the unnecessarily luxurious lifestyle that they try to live on a budget and stop doing that, and they have more money to take care of their own situation, so they don't have to call you and ask you for a favor. They don't have to call you and tell you that they don't have enough money. They should have enough money, right? And that's why we give you all this information. Now, today we're going to be talking about, why a lot of people are stuck being broke. And broke, from some people's perspective, broke is having zero money accessible, like the homeless, right? But broke is also a frame of mind where you don't have enough money to do the things you want to do. Broke is also a behavior practice where you're trying to spend more money than you make. Forever experiencing that declined card, that charge off account, seeing no money left in your bank account. Broke is the mentality of spending $1 on two things and then forever looking at your bank account to see if certain transactions cleared so that you have enough money to cover both purchases before both transactions clear. The ability to be stressed out about money because you have a big expense to pay for and you just don't know that you have enough money to cover it. Even if you have enough money to cover it, you're psychologically and emotionally unsure that you have enough money to cover it. And you're always worried about, what if I don't have enough? These are frames of mind of being broke. And this can be a multi-millionaire like MC Hammer, who was $53 million living a $100 million lifestyle and ended up having to lose 90-something% of it, where he's now a $5 million man. He's still a multi-millionaire, but in comparison to where he was in 1990 at $53 million a year, he is broke, right? So this can happen at every financial level, but it is more experienced under 250,000. It's more experienced under 100,000. It's more pronounced in those areas where people are making less than 75,000 a year per person on one job, right? It's more pronounced. So the reasons that individuals struggle with money may have less to do with their job and their salary, and a lot of the times have less to do with their spending habits than is commonly believed. A significant factor can be underlying psychological programs that reinforce poverty. Like y'all seen recently on social media, they got this Swatch store in some mall somewhere where some people did a collaboration. I think a shoe company and a watch company did a collaboration or something like that. And now they've got this watch that is more popular than Popeye's chicken sandwich, right? And y'all know what I'm talking about, when people's killing one another in the Popeyes drive-thru so that they could get chicken on top of chicken on top of chicken with a little bit of cheese on that shit. Y'all could have made that shit at the damn house. But now you got people in malls where malls have to get the local police department to block off certain stores, close down the store, and employees go home because they sold out of whatever the fuck this watch is, because they had a limited supply of 200 watches for the whole store and they sold out. And there's thousands of people coming to buy this watch. The psychological programming that people have where I must have certain things to say that I have it, status symbol and everything to that effect. And then they go broke doing that shit. I think it's ridiculous, but it happens. Financial struggles are going to be widespread, with a large share of Americans feeling anxious and stressed about their personal finances, whether they talk about it or not. Research indicates that up to 8 out of 10 Americans are stressed due to money. And if you are stressed due to money, your ass is broke. So 8 out of 10 Americans, which is upward of 80% of Americans, right? So when individuals consistently apply principles of hard work and financial responsibility, savings from each paycheck, minimizing discretionary spending, and still finding themselves financially constrained, it points to a deeper issue. This state can be described as a financial treadmill. We've talked about financial treadmills, where any minor financial gain from a raise is a quick absorption by rising costs for essential rent, gas, and groceries, which is one of the things we're experiencing right now with individuals having to pay more money for gas to commute to and from work, and the fact that the cost of basic groceries is going up. But there's also another time that this happens, because when you have more money to spend, you're willing to drive further for entertainment. When you have more money to spend, you're willing to go further for your vacation. When you have more money to spend, sometimes you're willing to buy the more expensive meats and the more expensive groceries, the more name brand qualities packages, so that you can have a better standard. And then by having that a better standard so frequently, it becomes the new standard. You go from a ground beef and, I don't know, Spam or whatever, to like only steaks. You know, you went from pork chops to lamb chops, and now that's the normal now. You know, and you can't go, you don't want to go back. You can go back, you don't want to go back, but the cost of buying that costs more, right? For many individuals, the idea of a future without constant financial anxiety feels unattainable. A lot of times because we create our own financial anxiety based on bad choices. This is going to lead to the question of personal responsibility. However, the issue may not be a failure of effort, but rather the result of playing a game rigged by both economic conditions and hidden internal forces. Now, these forces are buried deep in the mind and can operate without conscious awareness. And this analysis will show the invisible mental scripts that can actively sabotage financial success. And we got to talk about this, because as you guys are growing your portfolios, if you're following us on Stash App and grabbing the stocks that we got going across the screen and investing in them, you want to make sure that you're not overspending on your budget, which would force you to have to sell some shares in the stock and then take that money and go and take care of an emergency that you don't otherwise have money to take care of. These are not merely simple bad habits, but deep psychological programs learned from experience, family, and the state of lacking resources, such as, I keep bringing it up, those kids in those expensive ass damn proms where it's not even just the outfit. Bro, I spent $500 on a suit. I spent $13,000 in 20 minutes in a mall buying clothes when I was in college. But I can tell you that I still wear that shit 20 years later. That all that money that I spent on clothes 20 years ago is starting to average to $130 a year. I'm still wearing clothes from 2010 when I went on the shopping spree in college. You know what I mean? I still got this. You're like, oh, your outfit looks nice. I'm like, yeah, I know. When I bought it 20 years ago, I thought it was going to be the jam sandwich. Right? The goal is going to be to identify these programs and begin the work of rewiring these programs, because escaping the trap is less about intensifying effort in being financially successful and more about fundamentally changing your thinking. Okay. So for the remainder of the show, I'm going to be showing you guys the invisible scripts that are running in your minds that are actively sabotaging your financial success. And these aren't just bad habits. They're deep psychological programs that are learned from our experiences and our families and the very state of not having enough. Okay. And when I talk to you guys about that prom thing and about not having enough, when you think about the mentality of those children, and I'm not going to speak bad about the families per se, but I am going to speak bad about them. The kids that are experiencing this overly expensive prom setup performance situation. Okay. They're growing up in a family where money is tight. Money is always tight. They accept less because it makes things easier. They ask for less because it makes things easier. Some of them even get out there and go and get little side hustles and legal summer jobs and stuff like that to help cover the spread because there isn't enough there, right? They learn how to earn. Now, the problem is in this situation is that when things changed in your life and your parents got a larger quantity of money than they originally expected, right? Instead of them taking that money and doing something responsible for you or doing something responsible with the money, they decided to impress society for you by spending a bunch of money on something that would not last the rest of the week. It wouldn't last past the event. The views that you're going to get on posting this on social media platforms is only going to be for the first couple of weeks, maybe, that overly exaggerated prom outfits are trending. The moment will pass, and once the money's already gone, and from the day that you got off of the video camera till the day that the video stops trending, you are still in a day-to-day basis of, we're still on a financial struggle. Nothing has improved, but at least my YouTube video or my TikTok or my Twitter video got 1 million views on it, right? At 2 cents per 1,000 views. Where 1 million views might have got me like $1, right? But we spent like $40,000 or $50,000, right? That's one thing that I have that's going to teach you bad spending habits, bad saving and budget habits. The other thing is the outside of getting them the outfits, because the appropriately dressed kids wasn't the problem. Doesn't matter how much the suit costs. The kids don't own fucking suits. You're going to get them a suit, whether it's a nice one, an expensive one, $500, $1,000, $2,000, $2,500. Doesn't matter. You get them a suit. This is probably the only suit that they've ever owned in their life, because you don't teach your kids about how to dress with class. Now, the problem wasn't the outfit. The problem was the lack of durability of some of those outfits. The clothes wasn't fitting right on the kids. The girls' dresses were one step away from falling on it. It was almost like you turned prom into a wedding reception, right? Then you put a stack of cash in the boys' hands and flash the money. And the mental irresponsibility that's being taught in that situation is to flaunt what you have. And that is not the mentality of the wealthy. The wealthy will very rarely pull $100 in cash out of their wallet. They'd likely charge it to a card or wire transfer something or Bluetooth auto pay some shit, some kind of way, write a check, or they'll have their personal assistant do the transaction for them as they walk out the door without even reaching into their pocket for the money in the first place, right? So the mentality of the wealthy would not be to have so much money on your person that you can't hold it in your hands. There's so much money on your person that you can't fit it in your pockets. There's so much money on your person, you don't even know what to do with the money because it's a decoration. That mentality teaches the children to not value the money for the tool that it is. These upbringings are going to compromise their ability to value what they're going to do with the money and how they're going to get things done as they get older. And that's going to be one of those issues that is going to hurt them in the long run, which is why I'm very disappointed in how this happened this year with the extra money that they got from their taxes. But more importantly, we're going to be showing you how to find these improper wirings and how to start to work on rewiring these scripts and rewriting the way you do things today so that you can be a lot more effective in the way you handle things. And by being more effective in the way you handle things, you will find yourself in a position to see more of an abundance in your efforts to build a future and not squander that abundance. So, because escaping the trap isn't going to be about trying harder, it's going to be about thinking differently. So before addressing financial habits like budgeting or investing, it is going to be crucial to understand the mental environment in which financial decisions are made. Because for many individuals, this environment is one of chronic scarcity. The brain can be compared to a computer with a certain amount of processing power, or what scientists term cognitive bandwidth, right? And when an individual is rested and calm, this bandwidth is sufficient for complex tasks like future planning, weighing the pros and cons of a decision, creating problem solving on a highly creative platform, and then exercising self-control. However, living in a state of constant financial stress is like running multiple background programs that cannot shut off, right? And these programs involve mental calculations about affording necessities, worrying about those bills, and managing the debt that you're incurring. This is the psychology of scarcity and the mindset that captures attention and consumes cognitive resources is this psychology. Now, researchers, Sindal Malanathan, that is a weird name, Malanathan, and Elder Shafari, that almost sounded like Jafar, Shafari, Shafir, Shafar, have labeled the cost of this mental juggling a bandwidth tax. That's new concepts. This is not just a metaphor. Studies have shown that the mental load of poverty can reduce a person's effective cognitive performance significantly, with experiments in some situations finding an effect comparable to losing a full night of sleep. You ever been so stressed out that you just woke up, you've been out for about 4 to 6 hours, you get back, you're tired, and you want to lay down and take a nap? All you did was leave the house to do 1 or 3 things. That's it. And now you want to take another 5-hour nap. The mental fatigue, right? This is unrelated to intelligence. In fact, research shows that people in poverty often make highly complex and rational decisions to manage limited resources, which means they're not stupid. But when you make decisions in a panic, you're not always making a wise decision. The problem is that their brain's processing power is hijacked by constant worry, creating a kind of tunnel vision focused only on immediate survival. So when the brain is focused on short-term threats, such as paying a bill today, the capacity for long-term planning, impulse control, and recognizing larger opportunities is diminished. It's not a priority when the system is overloaded. When you're stressed about money, you can't focus. I can't sleep right unless I have money I can lay on. Well, metaphorically speaking, I feel the same way. I can't sleep right unless I know that I have money that I can access tomorrow. I don't really like laying on my money for a number of reasons. The first reason why I don't want to lay on my money is for the specific understanding that a lot of this money has been in the cracks of some G-strings, and a lot of this money has bounced off of nostrils with cocaine, and a lot of this money has been in places that I really would prefer not to have that in my bed, having direct contact with my flesh. That's one part of it. But the other part of it is that You guys know I got my co-star here, and my co-star doesn't value money the way he values kibbles and bits and bits and bits. So if I had a bed full of $100 bills and my co-star wanted to go for a walk and he got irritated because I took too long and he started chewing on those $100 bills, that lack of walk might cost me thousands of dollars before I realized that he ripped up. So I don't like sleeping on my money. Once you tear it, it's not going into an ATM machine or anything after that. You got to tape it, hand it to a cashier at a Waffle House and hope they'll take it, right? But yes, stress is going to be a huge issue with your ability to maintain cognitive functions. An individual's cognitive bandwidth, when consumed by an immediate financial crisis, makes it difficult to perform well in other areas of life. Simple mistakes can be made on a work project, or a bill payment might be forgotten. A transaction might be double charged. Even if the funds are available, sometimes you might forget to pay something that's not automated. Even if everything is on auto pay on one account, you might have forgotten to transfer the funds to that account for auto pay to work for you. Things happen. This is not irresponsibility. It is the result of an overloaded brain paying the bandwidth tax. The very condition of financial stress that makes it harder to make the clear, forward-thinking decisions that could alleviate that stress, creating a vicious, self-reinforcing cycle. Imagine having the capabilities to plan ahead. You're starting to pay all your bills for the month of June while you're in the month of May. You forgot something. Probably because you haven't paid it since February because you advance pay your bills. Now imagine in the month of June, you're not paying the bill because you thought you paid all of the bills. You got more money than you need because you paid all of your bills in June. In May, the bill still gets missed. Now you get a notice that says, hey, your payment is late. I thought I covered that. Now you got a negative ding on your credit score. Years of preparation thrown backwards 2 years at least because you're worrying about other things. This is a predictable human response to an environment of chronic scarcity, not a personal failing. Operating with a reduced mental bandwidth makes the brain default to pre-written programs or the invisible scripts. And these are going to be the mind's shortcuts, powerful beliefs, and emotional responses formed in childhood or during periods of financial trauma that run on autopilot. They feel like objective truths or personal identities, but they are learned patterns that can keep a person trapped. To break free, these invisible scripts must be made visible. Now, the following section, we're going to be unpacking 5 of the most powerful and pervasive scripts that keep people in a cycle of poverty, often without their knowledge. Understanding them is the first critical step towards rewriting a financial story. Now, the first and most fundamental script is going to be the scarcity mindset, as we've been talking about so far, which can be summarized by the core belief that there will never be enough money. When we reach that point, we have this fuck it mentality and just start spending money on shit. This worldview points that the resources like money and opportunities are finite and limited. And that one will always be at a disadvantage. So I'm going to say that again. This is going to put you in a position where you believe that your resources like money and opportunities are finite and limited, and that you're always going to be at a disadvantage. So this survival-based operating system is devastating for long-term growth and alters behaviors in three distinctive ways. First, it forces a focus on cost, not value. The scarcity mindset obsesses over the immediate price, leading to the purchase of cheaper goods that need frequent replacement rather than more expensive, durable items. This phenomenon is part of the poverty premium. The cruel irony that it can be more expensive to be poor, right? Low-income households often pay more for essentials because they cannot afford to buy it in bulk. They may lack access to traditional banking or rely on high-interest services like payday loans. For example, using high-cost credit is a poverty premium that will affect, while affecting a minority of low-income households, has a substantial financial impact on them. So I'm going to say that again. A high-cost credit card is going to be a poverty premium because while it affects a minority of your low-income households, it has a substantial financial impact on the household. Second, the scarcity mindset promotes hoarding over investing. The fear of losing what little that you have, what minute areas that has become more powerful than the hope of gaining more. You don't want to lose the little bit of stuff that you got because you don't got much. Investing in assets like stock markets, bonds, real estate, gold, silver, platinum, uranium, Bitcoin, all of that can feel reckless. The scarcity mindset encourages hoarding cash in savings accounts where it feels safe, but loses purchasing power to inflation over time. While an emergency fund is necessary, a strategy focused solely on hoarding cash guarantees a long-term loss. And this is when we're referring to the opportunity cost, because you can have $10,000 in a safe in your house and nobody knows about it. But even if it was sitting in a bank account at 3% interest on a high interest bank account, at least you would be getting 3% on your money. It's not a lot, but 3% on $10,000 would likely give you like $30, $300, something like that. A year, $300 a year on your $10,000, 3%. Not a lot of money, right? But if you were to invest it somewhere where you were getting 10% or more, that $10,000 will be getting you something closer to $1,000 a year. The opportunity cost between leaving that $10,000 in a safe that you can access versus leaving that money somewhere where the money can make money for you until you needed it is the comfort of being able to touch it every day, look at it every day, smell it every day, versus letting it work for you where you can't touch it, look at it, or smell it. Right? Third, this mindset fosters a competitive zero-sum view of success. And zero-sum means that the results of your actions will not gain you anything. Okay? Suggesting that another person's gain is a personal loss. Right? Now, this can lead to resentment of others and their success and prevent collaboration, isolating individuals from networks that are essential for finding new opportunities. The script distorts one's worldview, keeping them on the defensive and preventing the offensive strategies needed to build financial freedom. Okay. The second invisible script is going to be the cycle of avoidance. It's going to be driven by financial fear and a lot of shame, whether you want to admit it or not. The anxiety that arises when receiving a bill or checking a bank account, checking the balance on your credit cards. This is not laziness, but a psychological coping mechanism. When money is associated with stress and failure, the brain's natural response is to avoid the trigger. So you just stop looking. You stop checking the mail. You take all the bills and throw them in the trash and be like, fuck it, right? A study from the FINRA Foundation found that 60% of US adults felt anxious when thinking about their personal finances even before the pandemic. This creates a destructive feedback loop. Man, I'm looking at the screen like, did I just double take? This is some bull jive. I don't know. We're going to have to update the web browser or something after the show today, because I just seen some stuff and I was not expecting to see that stuff. We ain't dropping frames, but I mean, I'm bouncing all over the place right now. All right. The trigger to this particular situation, thinking about debt or bills, will trigger the anxiety. The avoidance is going to be to escape it. The whole feeling of the anxiety with as it relates to bills and debt, the individual procrastinates, leaving bills unopened or avoid financial apps altogether, turn off the notification buttons or whatever. The temporary relief that they get, because avoidance provides momentary relief, reinforcing it as a valid strategy. The worsening consequences come because a problem escalates with the late fees and the occurring interest. The amplified anxiety happens because when finally confronting the problem, the anxiety and the shame are even greater, reinforcing the belief that money is scary and making future avoidance more likely to occur. This cycle is akin to ignoring a small fire that then grows to consume the entire room. This script is often rooted in what can be termed financial trauma, a trauma-like response to severe financial stress, such as bankruptcy or sudden job loss. These experiences can condition the nervous system to perceive money itself as a threat, making avoidance a trauma response rather than a sign of irresponsibility. Third and deepest script is the adoption of a poor identity. Human beings have a concept of who they are, and the brain works to align actions with this identity. So if a person's ingrained the identity that includes beliefs like, I'm the kind of person who struggles with money, or I'm bad with money, a strange internal conflict can arise when they start to achieve financial success. As income or savings grow beyond the identity's familiar setting, the brain may unconsciously sabotage that success to return to what feels normal. This is a key psychological reason why a high percentage of lottery winners end up with nothing shortly thereafter. While estimates vary, some sources suggest that roughly 70% of winners lose their winnings within a few years. More conservative data from the CFP Board of Standards indicates that nearly 1/3 of lottery winners eventually declare bankruptcy. Being wealthy is so far outside of their established identity that they may subconsciously find ways to get rid of the money. This resistance is driven by hidden fears, including the fear of betrayal or rejection. Because if someone grew up in a community where everyone struggled, success can feel like an abandonment of your social group. The financial identity is going to be tied to a sense of belonging, and to protect it, an individual might hold themselves back financially. The fear of success itself, because success brings in new responsibilities and higher expectations. The perceived safety of remaining in familiar, less successful states can be more appealing than the risk of advancements. The ultimate observation for yourself is that once I get there, how do I maintain it? And that causes a bigger problem with your ability to progress and grow in life, because you put yourself in a position where you're not trying to progress, which prevents you from reaching the goals that you're looking for. Why do credit cards have high interest rates? Because you're willing to pay them. Plain and simple. Because if nobody got credit cards that had really high interest rates, the credit card companies that have high interest rates will go out of business and they would reduce those rates. Ultimately, the interest rates are set by the United States Treasury, and then after they finish setting the interest rates, and then whether they slash them or not, credit card companies set their variable rates based on what the market average is, which is the market average of what people are willing to pay interest for. So if there's less availability to acquire credit cards, the supply of lines of credit is higher. The supply of lines of credits are lower, and when there's a lower supply of credit cards, there's going to be a higher demand for the use of credit cards. And when the demand for credit card usage is higher, they can charge higher interest rates and people will pay. When the market is not as volatile and there is a overabundance of accessibility to credit cards, the usage of credit cards is widely spread, and everybody's doing good about maintaining their interest amounts. Interest rates are going to be lower. So it's going to be partially tied to your spending habits and your credit report, because you're going to gauge your volatility based on public records of your finances and your financial decisions. But it's also going to be based on the market trends. So like right now during the war, interest rates are not favorable for certain situations because we are dealing with in interference in the trade market, right? So that's gonna play a huge issue. But you're still seeing right now between 22 and 29% interest rate on your credit cards. Donald Trump was talking about capping that to 10%. So for any person who has a credit card, if you are capped at 10%, then you will find yourself in a position where that credit card, the credit cards will be harder to come by, but it'll be a fixed rate scenario once they pass that law. Steven says, if I won the lottery, I might be tempted to go to Vegas and live out of a hotel room for a few years, act crazy, and wake up next to a new woman every night. I'm going to tell you something. If you go to Vegas after you won a lottery, you're not going to be there for a few years. You're going to go to Vegas and you're going to be back tomorrow. You're going to go there tonight and come back tomorrow. Vegas, you can let it ride. And by the end of the night, you will be broken in a bitch. I don't play the lottery, so I don't have to worry about that. Some people should not have any credit cards because they cannot handle the easy access to money. Well, I disagree with that. Everybody should have the knowledge taught to them so that everybody can have access to the same amenities that are offered by this country. Not everybody has the same access to the amenities that are offered by this country because not everybody has the same knowledge. While common knowledge is supposed to be common, it's not all too common in modern 2026 society because whatever we're fed on social media from an algorithm that re-shows us content that keeps us on the algorithm. It's not going to show us new things on a regular basis. It'll test show us something new every now and again. And if it captivates us, it'll continue to show us similar things. But it's not going to, unless you're looking up financial investment opportunities on a regular basis and lingering on those videos that are financial opportunities, unless that happens, the algorithm is not going to forever show you new ways to invest and new ways to save and new ways to budget and re-encourage you to build a life of financial success. But we're not taught by our parents because they don't know what to do. We're not taught by our grandparents because they don't know what to do. That's why we're growing up in financially challenged households. We don't know what to do. We're not taught in high school. They're not even teaching the kids this kind of stuff in high school right now when they're teaching them AP classes. That home ec doesn't exist anymore. And if it did exist, home ec was about baking and vacuuming and shit like that. It wasn't about balancing your checkbook or investing in stocks, bonds, and real estate. When you go into college, you have accounting classes, you have statistics, you have trigonometry, you have Calc 2, you have engineering, but none of it is finance. You have a business class, which is how to manage somebody else's money, but none of it is finance, how to financially take care of yourself so that you are not broke. So you are exposed to student credit cards out the gate so that they can lock you in as a financial payer of debt. You're not taught what to do with that. If 20 years ago, somebody would have told me to take the hundreds of thousands of dollars that I had racked up in student debt and invest that into brokerage accounts, I would have hundreds of thousands of dollars of principal right now paying me dividends. Even after I got my student loans deferred, I would still be getting all these dividends because somebody would have had the knowledge that they would have passed it on to me. Now in 2026, more and more people are using social media to start advocating for financial success, which requires you to change the way you make money and then change the way you spend the money that you make. So it's not the fact that some people should not have the credit cards because they can't handle the easy access to the money. They should be taught better how to handle it so that they're not using the easy access to the money in the wrong way. It's almost like saying, oh, everybody shouldn't have a gun because they don't know how to use a gun. No, everybody should have a gun. It should be law that you're getting gun training alongside JROTC in high school. You should, instead of them giving everybody driver's ed class in school, they should be giving everybody pistol and rifle training in high school. Some people are going to say, what about the school shootings? But if you were taught gun safety at 7, 8, 9 years old, and you were taken to the range at 11, 12, and 15 years old, and you were taught how to be responsible about it, then you wouldn't be fucking it up because it wouldn't be a toy. It would be a tool. Same thing with the money. If you were taught financial responsibility at 7, 8, and 9 years old, and you were taught how to invest, and you were taught how to save and budget, and you were taught how to invest your money in things that will make more money for you, and you were taught how to utilize your money to hire people to do things for you that is outside of your skill set, instead of you struggling to figure it out, then by the time you're 20 years old, you wouldn't be fucking up your money, because you would have a good ability to control what you've got coming in versus what you got going out. And then you can pay other people who have the knowledge to help you figure out the things you don't know, where you go to being a better judge of character, as opposed to being able to seek the ability to take advantage of somebody else's ability to give you a free handout. He said, I said the same thing years after college. I mean, bro, like I found out, like I was 8 years into college when people started telling me about financial shit. I was sitting here like, man, fuck, if I'd have heard this as a freshman, like I would have did so many different things. But internalized cultural beliefs, this is going to be another issue. Ideas like rich people are greedy can cause resistance to wealth, as becoming wealthy might feel synonymous with being a bad person. This is a pure form of self-sabotage. When you're, and this is going to put you in a situation where if you believe that wealthy people are greedy and you're not greedy, whenever you get extra money, you're going to share it with everybody around you. When you win the lottery, it's we won the lottery. But when you're going broke, it's you're going broke, right? When you had extra, everybody had extra. But when you don't have enough, nobody's got your back. Because you thought, I'm going to Robin Hood my neighborhood and get rich and make everybody rich with me. No, what happens is that you're going to rob yourself and give it to your hood. That's exactly what you're going to do. Right? And this is going to be where a part of the psyche pulls an individual back towards a familiar comfort of an old identity of being broke as fuck, even if it is one of constant financial struggle. Now, the fourth script, the emotional spending trap, is going to involve using spending to manage your emotions. So we're going to get into that one in just a second. Is that when people don't understand our financial system and end up broke, then they call the rich greedy. Yeah, that I could say that, but I think there's more to it than that. Because some people don't understand the financial system. So they never have enough money to do all the things they want to do. They call the people who didn't waste all of their money on irresponsible things greedy, because those people have more. Right? For example, if we all had food at the buffet and I only ate a certain quantity of food at a time, and you're gorging because it's a buffet. When the buffet closes, I still got all this food on the table. You want some of my food? No. I portioned my food out because I knew that the buffet was closing. You still want more food, and now you're going to say that I'm a bad person because I didn't share with you my abundance that is still there after the original resources tapped out. We all had the same access to the funds. You spent yours. I know those of us who grew up in sibling households where we had either older or younger siblings, we were all given the same amount of stuff because the parents didn't want us to feel like somebody was a favorite when there was always somebody that was a favorite. Each parent had a favorite child. So if you had 3 kids, one of the children was the black sheep, whether you wanted them to be or not. You typically, if you've got boys and girls, you've got the favorite girl, the favorite boy. You're either going to have the oldest is the favorite firstborn, or the youngest is the favorite lastborn. That's going to, and they're only going to pick one. And people don't understand this, but psychologically, you can only have intense levels of love for one person at a time. While you can have love for everybody, one person you're going to love more than everybody else around you that you love. That's your favorite, right? And then you can do about it. You know, mom and dad don't love each other as much as mom might love the son and dad might love the daughter, or vice versa. Right? So, taking that back to the understanding of the greed. If parents gave us all a certain quantity of money, you spent all of your money in one transaction. I spent some of my money on one transaction, or didn't spend any of my money at all because I was planning on doing something else down the line. Now, you realize I got money, you don't have any money, you want to do something. You're going to guilt trip me into giving my money to you because you don't have any more money. Now, because you don't have the resources, but I do have the resources, now I'm going to be scrutinized to feel guilty about not giving up my money. That's why wealthy are going to be called greedy, not because the people failed the system, which is why I agree with you to a degree. It's not because they failed the system. It's because they're jealous of the ongoing success of the other person. So they're going to shame the other person and call the other person greedy because the other person didn't give extra to the people who already spent all of theirs. And that part, I think, is a little bit challenging. So when it comes down to using money to manage your emotions, this is going to be when you're using consumption as a temporary fix for your sadness or your stress or your inadequacies. For example, when you're sad, you might drink alcohol or smoke or something like that to make yourself feel better about what you're going through. When you're stressed, you might smoke or something like that to get over your stress. You might binge eat, where you're buying a lot more food than what you normally would buy, which causes you to put on weight. Now you're spending extra money on gym memberships and diet pills and all these other programs to lose that weight again. Or if you're buying things for inadequacies, the feelings of inadequacy. Again, I'm going to get on these people with the prom night where you're spending all this extra money on rental cars and all this other stuff to show off for society so that society can validate you for showing up in expensive stuff, wearing expensive stuff, holding large quantities of money that you've never seen before in your life. And we're substituting inadequacies. Marketers exploit this by selling feelings, the confidence of a new outfit or the relief of buy now, pay later scenarios. The use of buy now, pay later services is growing, with an estimated 91.5 million American consumers expected to use them in 2026. Buy now, pay later allows for you to get locked into a financial contract with something that you can't afford now, and then pay later on it. Right? Said, is spending money just another addiction? Yes, depending on what you're spending it on. Yes, because say, for example, a woman is dating a man that has enough money to do this, where she has no restrictions on how much she wants to spend. She gets stressed or anxious, she wants to go shopping. It doesn't matter if she's shopping in a thrift store or if she's shopping in a name brand expensive like Chanel outlet store, whatever. What matters is that whenever her feelings are not regulated, she has to spend money. That is an addiction. It also works with men. Gambling. It works with men. Video games. It works with men. Loudspeakers, big rims, Jordans. It also works with college students. Karaoke nights every night of the week, bar hopping, frat parties, house parties. You know, it works with the kids, buying the stuff that they see their friends have so that they can have or feel like they're on the same level as their friends. Yes, spending can be just another addiction. People don't recognize spending as an addiction. They just call it poor financial management. But the dopamine hit that you get from making a purchase, no matter how long that dopamine hit lingers, is a psychological and emotional relief to the level of stress that you're under at the moment, the level of discomfort that you're having at the moment. So if you don't feel validated by what's going on around you, but you decide to go and buy you a WWE title and you carry it around everywhere, you can find yourself in a situation where you're getting a lot of compliments because you have this title belt, and that validates you, which boosts your ego. Now, those people who you know who complimented you the first couple of weeks they see you with the belt, they might even crack some positive jokes like, oh, there's the champ, or the champ is here, and blah, 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 blah. You know, in the moment, after a while, they get used to you having the belt. That belt is part of your identity. It no longer requires them to praise it. The dopamine hit is gone. Now you got to buy something else to impress everybody. The first few weeks you got new shoes. When we was kids, the first couple of weeks you got new shoes, all the kids in school would give you compliments the first couple times they see your shoes. The first time your shoes get scuffed, that's it. The compliments are gone. Which is why we used to fight over scuffed shoes, because our praise stopped the first time our shoes got dirty. Women account for 85% of all consumer purchases in the United States. Yes. But do you know what the funny part about it is that women subsidize their income with 41% of the men's income, while the women only benefit for their standard of living 23% of it. So 18% of the money they get from their boyfriends and their husbands is wasted on that 85% of female consumerism. So it is not women spending women's money on 85% of consumer purchases. It is women spending men's money on 85% of consumer purchases. That's why most advertisement is packaged towards attracting women to make the purchase. And that's why there's what is called a pink tax, where they sell the same product for a woman that they sell for a man, but they change the label and put more frilly colors and attractive pictures on it so that the woman will buy the exact same tool that a man would buy, and they charge an inflated cost for the decorations of the labeling in order for the woman to buy it. Where she could have bought, like, for example, take razors, because we covered this on a show before. A woman's razor might be $2 to $3 higher than a man's razor because it's pink in packaging of a pink chick shaving her leg, right? But she can go and buy a simple Bic razor or Gillette razor for a man. Same freaking razor, same brand, same company. But the man razor doesn't have anything on it. It just has the brand of the razor and a clear packaging for the razor. Nothing pretty, nothing to catch your eye. It's a tool, right? $2 to $3 less. So if women wanted to get high quality performance from a razor, they would just go buy the man's product and save some money. It's that simple. You're right. Women are spending men's money. It is the Western culture, societal norms. The men are going to pay for first encounter. They're going to pay for every date after that. Once she commits to him, his duty is to pay for her until the engagement. He pays extra money for the engagement. Then, because in modern Western culture, we no longer get consent from our parents and our grandparents. So since we don't get family approval, the history behind marriage is that the parents paid for the marriage for the children. Two problems we have now is that every generation is broke, and the next generation does not get approval from the last generation. So that means who's paying for the marriage? The husband. Not the husband's parents, not the wife's parents, the husband. And then after he pays for the marriage, now he's paying for his wife for the rest of his life. There's never a dynamic where the woman has to pay. She chooses to pay when she pays. And modern 2026 women are choosing to pay up to, but not more than half, which is where the 50-50 dynamic comes from. And the wild part about that is it's still not 50-50, because when a woman pays 50% of the financial expenses, the man has 50% more income, which he then spends on his woman. So she gets a rebate. If we have a $3,000 bill and I put up $1,500 on the bill, and you put up $1,500 on the bill, and then I now spend $750 on your hair, it's not 50-50. It's at the very best 70-30. It's not 50-50. Is it no wonder that 50% of couples are divorced? Yes. And the other 50% are not divorced because the man can't afford the divorce and the woman doesn't want to leave the money. That's the only reason why the divorce didn't occur. The modern day culture is that women do not value men. They value the men's resources. If he has the resources she's looking for, she will stay with him as long as she has control over the resources, which is why women dominate men and then call it equal, so that she can control the estate. He still has to work for the money to and provide the estate and build on the estate, but he is the groundskeeper to his kingdom because she has taken over his kingdom in exchange for sex. So when they get married, everything belongs to the wife, and the man is just financially supporting everything the wife gets. Which is why in a divorce, she takes as much as she can carry, which is half of it, right? Not because she deserves it, but because he gave it all to her upon the marriage. You laughing, but I'm serious. I'm being serious. This is how it is. Make sure y'all like and subscribe when y'all come through here. It sounds a little depressing situation. Well, the only reason why it's a depressing situation is because men allow themselves to be in it. Men actually force themselves into the situation. This isn't a situation where women have created this diabolical plan to oppress men and take their money. No. Women have devised a diabolical plan to be attractive. That's the whole fucking plan. To be attractive and don't say no to a free gift. That is the fullest extent of their plan. Outside of her building herself up financially, social interaction is, if he offers, don't say no unless you're not willing to sleep with the guy. That's it. That's it. So you spend as much money as you need to look as pretty as you can. Call yourself a 10, even if you're a 3. Put on enough makeup so that you look like a 6, but call yourself a 10. And if a guy walks up and he's willing to pay your way, go. That is the plan. That's the master plan. The men give their money away voluntarily. It's the men's fault for the reason why the men are taken advantage of. Because there are times in life where you force yourself to be taken advantage of. You're not tricked into it. You're not duped. You're not swindled. It's not narcissism. It's not some type of toxic psychological mental control over you. You are voluntarily putting yourself in this position a lot of times because of your longingness for companionship, your desperation for physical intimacy, your poor upbringing, the lack of social interactions that you had in your childhood. You put yourself in a situation. Sometimes you only feel comfortable in toxicity because you grew up in toxicity, where mom and dad was always fighting each other, where not just mom and dad, but mom, dad, and stepdad, and my stepbrother, or mom, dad, and stepdad, and other stepdad with my stepsister, mom, dad, stepbrother, stepdad, half sister, half cut. There's 5 siblings, and I'm only blood related to like 3 of them. And 8 men, and mama fighting with all these men. So that's going to lead the man to grow up in a lifestyle thinking, well, if you love each other, you're going to fight to make the relationship work. But the truth of the matter is that you're not supposed to fight each other to make the relationship work. It is truthfully supposed to be the 2 of us against the world, or our community against the greater society. We're not supposed to, the household is never supposed to be divided. Mom and dad is never supposed to be disagreeing with one another. The same last name is not supposed to disagree with one another. not in society, not in front of everybody, right? There's not supposed to be a disagreement, but we put ourselves in these situations where we want a sassy girl that's going to talk back to us and insult us and degrade us. That's one of the reasons why we're there, right? So it's not her fault that we chose a girl that had no respect for us and we forced her to stay by spending enough money on her to convince her to stay. It's our fault. Because if the woman wanted you, she would worship the ground that you walk on, which means she'll never leave your side, which means you don't got to spend money on her at all. She'll spend money on herself and she'll spend her money on you. If the woman really wanted to be with you, she wouldn't be cussing you out because you left and went somewhere in the middle of the night. She would have went with you. You know, if you had a woman that wanted to be with you, you would be in a household of peace, not chaos. You chose the one that wanted what you offered. So the solution is, as Nancy Reagan used to say, just say no. Oh, no, the solution is to be calculated about what you're trying to do. You want to have intentional decision making. You don't want to have accidental decision making. You don't want to have circumstantial decision making. You don't want decision making of convenience. You want to be able to say yes because it benefits you now and later. You don't say yes because, oh, well, I'm going to buy drinks for this girl at the bar because I might be able to sleep with her tonight. And then in 2 weeks, you find out that the girl that you were sleeping with was a minor. And now for the next 20 years, your life is ruined. That's not how decision making works. Positive decision making is to take your time and be intentful. You might meet this girl today. You might meet her tomorrow. You might spend a few months with her, get to know her, find out enough about her to find out that she is in fact grown. You know, recognize that this is somebody that you can build a life with before you start with the intimacy. Now you are intentful about what you're doing. You're not acting on impulse, because if you lust for the girl, even if you've already slept with her, but you want to sleep with her again because the sex was so good, if you lust for the girl, you're going to decide to do whatever it takes to do that again. So now you're still acting out of desperation. Where you were acting out of desperation, probably originally out of loneliness, now you're acting out of desperation for a repeat. But you're still acting out of desperation. And the longer that you do that, the longer that pattern of behavior becomes a ritual, which puts you in a position where you're not going to be in a situation where you're making intentful decisions that benefit you. You are making desperate decisions that benefit her so that you can get a little piece of ass, and that doesn't help you. Then if you decide after 2 or 3 years to stand on some principles, she gonna ask you, well, where the fuck these principles came from? Because you was underneath my foot for the last 5 years. Now all of a sudden you want to grow some nuts. Where that came from? That's he said, no. So you need to go through a lot of candidates for the job. Yes, that would actually be a good way to assess it. And when you're going through candidates, you're not going through candidates like casting couch. When you're going through candidates, you're literally interviewing phase at their expense, not yours, where they're coming to you because they want this position, and they're going to show you why they are valuable for this position before you hire them for this position. The same way McDonald's is not going to start paying you because you asked them for a job. McDonald's wants to know, what is your background? What is your work skills? How do you benefit this company? If I hired you today, you know, how would we benefit from putting you on a schedule? Even if we know we're shorthanded, how do we know that you're going to perform well enough? Then if we're going to talk about it, probably do a second interview. And then after we come from the second interview, if we're going to hire you, now we're exchanging information and we're putting you on payroll. But when we put you on payroll, your ass is going to work. Give you a 90-day probationary period. If you don't perform, we're going to fire you. Right? So if we had that same mentality, and I know I've said this before, that treating relationships like a business transaction, people say that it's not good to transactionalize relationships, but I'm on the fence on both sides of that, because if you treat the relationship from the psychology of a transactional job situation, since you as the man are the employer, because you as the man are providing the salary to the woman, if she's going to show you why you're paying her what you're paying her, why you're spending the money that you're spending on her, then you're going to be in a situation where you're likely going to get more value out of it as a man. Now, from the woman's perspective, Alpha boss ladies, instead of looking for a man that makes more money than you as a $75,000, $100,000, $200,000 woman can find you a man that makes less money than you, but you can curate him on the exact same platform. As long as you love and respect your man, you could be making 3 times more than him, and y'all can switch roles. He can prioritize the stuff around the house, and you can prioritize alpha boss lady office work, but you still respect him as a man. If you did that, you wouldn't have any issues. There are a lot of matriarchal societies, like we talked about before, Belarus, Kazakhstan, the Philippines, where the women dominate the workforce, and more often than not, the men are at the house. But the men still have a masculine role, and the women still come back to the house and respect those men and care for those men and cook and clean up behind those men. So the fact is that in Western culture, while the women are the authority, while not being responsible, and the men have to be the provider while not having any authority, the dynamic is flawed, because a woman can be in an authority if she respected her partner the way she expects her partner to respect her when he's the authority. It's just mutual respect and reciprocation that we don't see. He said the women will say that it's not romantic to sign a prenup. I know. And those are the kind of women that are in it for the resources. They're not in it for She's saying that it's not okay to sign a prenup because she has nothing invested in the relationship, plain and simple. That's the long and the short of it. Because if she had a house, if she had cars, if she had trusts, if she had investment capital, and the opportunity that her money that might be more than your money got split in half to go some of it to you, she would be the one bringing you the prenup. But because she's coming with the clothes on her back and 90% of the stuff is yours, she doesn't want to sign a prenup. Because if she walks into this relationship with nothing, she's going to walk out of it with something, because she gave her time. Not because she was valuable, because she put up her time and, she gave up her body, right? But she gives up her body to every attractive guy at the club. So it's not like she really sacrificed virtue, because a woman that would be making sacrifice of a virtue would have a 0 body count when you married her. Every woman that's got a 5 or more body count, their value has been gone for so long. You can't, I bet you can't even name your first partner. Most people can't. It's been so long ago. You've had so many different partners. You can't name the first 5 people in chronological order that you slept with, because you've slept with too many people. So at the end of the day, the women who don't want a prenup have nothing to gain from signing the prenup, and they lose everything that you have if they sign the prenup. That's why they don't do it. But if you're not in a 100% 50-50 relationship where she puts up exactly the same amount of money that you put up for every single thing that y'all touch, then you don't have a relationship that is valuable for anything less than a prenup. Yes, you are so right. She has nothing, and that is why she will not sign. And that's why you're not going to date her. You're not going to, and this is the funny thing. That's why I was talking to y'all yesterday about the girlfriend contract. And I was talking to y'all yesterday during the Trump-China discussion about the girlfriend contract. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about it again today after while we're getting into this, because when you start talking about those girlfriend contracts, the fact is that if within the first 30 to 90 days, y'all start talking about moving in with one another. Well, it doesn't matter if it's 30 days, 90 days, 6 months in. When I start offering to pay your bills, or you start offering to pay my bills, that's when the girlfriend contract comes in, because we need to start establishing in inventory, what do you have and what do I have? And what am I giving you money for? Am I giving you money for the equity stake in your car? If I'm helping you pay your car note, am I giving you money for equity stake in your cell phone because I'm helping pay your cell phone note? Because a lot of people put a down payment on their cell phone, and then they make monthly payments on their cell phone on a lease to buy scenario, which means that if I'm helping you pay your cell phone bill, I have equity share in the ownership of your cell phone. Or am I just giving you money to use things, or am I paying you for a service that you've done? You've got to identify transactionally, where is the money going in this relationship and where is it coming from? So once we start merging our money together, even if we don't live together yet, once we start merging our money together, or once we start talking about merging our money together, that's when a contract comes up. Once we start living together, that's when it comes. Before you decide that you're going to move in, when we start having that conversation, look, I'm going to have to bring this contract across the table. We need to talk about this. We need to write all this stuff down. Before you move in, whatever you're bringing with you, we're going to document this. Whatever you're putting in storage, we're going to document all this. You know what I'm saying? And that starts the relationship off inside of year one with contracts that we update every time we buy something expensive, every time we remove something of value out of the relationship, every 6 months. If nothing changes, we just update it every year, just to make sure that we're still on the same page with the division of assets. And then if we're doing this on a regular basis, she shouldn't have a problem down the line on signing that prenup. Because when you get to that engagement phase, the engagement ring, sometimes a couple $100, but sometimes a few $1,000. The wedding ring, sometimes a few $1,000. In the contract, who owns that ring? And upon separation, who keeps the ring? Do you keep the ring and reimburse me the monetary value, or do you reimburse me the ring? Do you give me back the ring? We agree upon that before marriage. We agree upon that before the engagement. With the wedding, who's paying for the wedding? And the wedding is the ceremony of marriage, which is part of a marriage contract when you're doing the marriage tax forms with the justice of the peace. So this binding contract of marriage, that marriage reception, $50,000, $75,000 was part of this contract. So if we get divorced, are you reimbursing me for the marriage ceremony? If the husband paid for it, is the wife going to reimburse the husband for the marriage? Put that into the contract. The cost of getting married. And we agree to that. Upon separation, you got to break me off. Would you check her credit before moving in? That's up to you. Honest to God, it really, if you're getting an apartment together, then you want to check her credit. If you guys are going to be merging bank accounts together, you want to check her credit. When you start talking about finances, you want to pull her credit and pull your credit. Look here. Well, before we get back on the main topic of broke-minded mentality, before you guys sleep with each other, you should both go get tested together, right? Not just bring the most recent STD test that you guys have had. You want to do that too. But a lot of times, the last time you had an STD test is shortly after the last time you involved yourself with somebody, but you haven't had an STD test since then. Some people actually get involved with somebody after that last test and forget to get another test. So when you go to get involved with this new person, you're not recently tested. Truth be told, before you guys get intimate with one another, you should go get tested. It's not romantic, but you should get tested. Before you guys start talking about sharing your wealth with one another, you should pull each other's credit reports. It's not romantic, but it's effective. Before you start talking about moving in and living together, I should know how much debt you have. Before we start talking about joint bank accounts, I need to know how much debt you have, right? Because it helps me understand what I'm getting into financially, because I'm the one that's going to be getting into this financially. You're going to be getting into this effort-wise as the woman. I'm the one getting into it financially. So yeah, I should be pulling your credit. And so that she knows that I'm financially responsible, she should be pulling mine, right? We should know what the fuck we're getting into. So if I've got years of charge-offs and unpaid debt, but I'm building it up, at the end of the day, at least she sees I'm recovering from bad decisions in the past. If I'm still dealing with charge-offs last week, last month, where shit's still not going the way it's supposed to be, legal actions pending and all this other stuff, she might not want to get involved. It's just like women will more often than not do a criminal background check on a man, but men will not do any kind of background check on a woman. Women will take a man's identity and put it across multiple different Facebook platforms to see if the guy is dating another woman. But men don't find out if this chick been ran through by everybody in his squad. Like Michael told the story on Sunday about how he brought a woman to the holiday festival to find out that she had been there with his cousin before. So this girl has dated another person in his family. He didn't even have the ability to fact check her with his own family members before he found out that he was sleeping with his homeboys, with his cousin's ex-girlfriend, right? Because men don't follow up, but we should. It's funny how someone refused to return the ring even though there was no marriage. Well, of course, because it's considered a gift. There's no contract. It's considered a gift. If the ring is not a contract, if the ring is a investment opportunity, it's not a guarantee. Under those standards, while not a lot of women are going to agree with that in Western culture, under those standards, it's not a gift. This is an intent to invest in you. And if you renege on this situation, then I get to keep the ring back, or I get the monetary value of the ring back. She needs to really think about that. She everything good. You're planning our breakup before we get married. Yes. Because if I'm not prepared for it now, I'm not going to be prepared for it when you walk out. Not if you walk out, when you walk out, right? Because the average woman in modern society is 1 year, 5 months, 6 days. So if we make it past a year and a half, if we make it past 2 years, every day is a blessing because we have already broken past the statistical average of the average breakup. And there's never a scenario where you're not sure that she's going to disappear on you. Because since the females are less invested in the relationship than the males are, the women can leave easier than the men. The only time the women, quote unquote, feel trapped is when they're used to the financial lifestyle that is being provided to them by the man. They got kids for the man and they don't want to pay for the kids, or they can't afford to pay for the kids. And now they financially feel trapped in the situation because they don't make enough money to replace the man's budget and maintain the lifestyle that the man is providing for them. So they won't walk out of that marriage. They won't walk out of that relationship. But if she's got nothing in this relationship, she's got no kids holding her back or no financial responsibilities that's holding her back, and she can easily pick up a dude at the club, move into his house and start sleeping with that guy, she will drop you and go with somebody else. Men can't do that. A man has to take his money with him. So if he's got a woman living in his house, he can't move into another house with another woman. He can't afford to pay for 2 houses, which is one of the reasons why women want monogamy, is because a man can't afford to pay for 2 houses. So there's no reason for him to have 2 women, because the women don't want to share the same house. But if they did, there'd be less problems. Being taken to the cleaners is not romantic either. I tell you what, that's what I'm trying to put down. I think it would be petty for me to get the ring back because it is symbolic, meaning I can get one out of the quarter machine and it will mean the same thing. A 25-cent loss I can handle. Now, I'm going to be real with you, bro. I like that thinking, but why does it got to be 25 cents? Because since it's symbolic, my guy, couldn't you just take one of the key rings off your keychain and use that as a symbol, since it is symbolism? And that's free. She can keep that. I got so many key rings on my keychain right now, I can give 5 away just because. So when we start talking about the symbolism, yeah, if I'm not spending no money on it, yeah, but women don't want the symbolism. Women want the gaudy expectations of monetary value. So they want a ring with diamonds. They want a ring that's closer to gold. Even if it's white gold, they want a ring that's closer to gold. Why? Because it's got to look and be expensive. Which is the reason why I'm touching on this one on today's topic, a broke-minded mentality. The poverty mind, women flex on, look at the value of my husband, he bought me this expensive ring. Now with inflation, the diamonds have gotten smaller. So instead of women showing rings that's so big that they wrist hurt, they now got the small ring with the little diamonds on it and stuff like that. But you still got a 2-3 karat gold ring with you know, a pretty decent sized diamond on it for an engagement ring. Then you've got the wedding ring covered in diamonds. and you're looking at no cheaper than $500 for a set of jewelry for the girl. You don't even, not even for you, just for her. It's not like a his and hers set. It's just hers. And then you got to get yours later. Because the wedding ring and the wedding band for her is separate from the wedding bands at the wedding reception. Completely different, right? All that money that you're spending on that shit, bro, I'd be contracting it out. It's not a gift, it's an investment. It's not a gift of symbolism, it's an investment. I'm not asking you to marry me as a favor to me. I am proposing a financial improvement by the joining of two estates. So since I am talking about a financial improvement of the joining of two estates, I'm offering you a contract. And some of the sign-on bonuses are this engagement ring, this wedding reception, but it's part of the deal. So if you breach the contract, reimbursement on the deal is mandatory. You got to sign off on it or it ain't happening. If a woman shows her ring to the girls and find out that it's worthless, you're in big trouble. Exactly. Which also means that if I've got to go get me a real diamond ring with real gold and all this other shit to impress her friends, again, the poverty mindset. And if I can't afford that, then I'm a worthless guy and she's not going to marry me because a ring is fake, not because of the symbolism of me dedicating the rest of my life to her, because the ring is not real gold, because a ring is not real diamonds. Then at the end of the day, I'm not getting a woman that's marrying me for who I am and what I intend to do for her. I've got a woman that wants the stuff that she thought she could get from me. And when she found out I couldn't afford what she wanted, she didn't want me. That's not what we should be getting ourselves into. Now, while we're talking about addictions, the psychological loops that we get ourselves into are going to be similar to addictions. Emotional discomfort is going to be one of them. A negative feeling arises from a bad day, loneliness, or social media envy. The urge to spend, which is what we were talking about a while ago with addictions. The brain seeks a quick pleasure hit to alter the emotional state, whether you're constantly stressed out, whether you're frustrated on a regular basis, whether you're lonely, whether you're sad, depressed, whatever. You buy something to trigger a positive dopamine hit, the purchase. And dopamine hit is the ability, clicking that buy button to release that dopamine, which provides a rush of excitement and temporarily masking the bad feelings that you haven't gone over and resolved. The crash and guilt scenario, where the thrill fades after the purchase and is replaced by the guilt of the purchase and the renewed stress of the financial consequences, which is having less money than what you did before the purchase, knowing that you had not enough money before the purchase. So you feel worse because you spent what you didn't have on something you didn't need. Now you feel stupid on top of everything else. This is common, with studies showing that 41% of BNPL users have missed at least one payment. He says it takes an effort to get off the dopamine rush. No, it doesn't. It takes effort to stay on the dopamine rush. There's no effort to get off the dopamine rush. The reason why they describe dopamine rush like a drug is because it can be triggered naturally. But you ever heard the term, you fucked up my high? Because you can hit whatever. You can get on a level where you have the rush that you're looking for. And then somebody comes and triggers negative emotions in you, which gives you a rush of rage or a rush of sadness or depression or desperation, which has modified your inebriated state. You went from feeling the intoxications of the beer. No, I'm sober now. You went from the intoxicated feelings of smoking a blunt. Man, you done fucked up my high. You went from the intoxicating feelings of the dopamine rush from the purchase because of things in your environment that have reawakened you from the cloud nine position you were in when you were getting that dopamine rush from that transaction. You'll also experience increased discomfort because the overall financial anxiety is going to now be higher than what it was before you started wasting money, making one more vulnerability where you're seeking another quick fix to fix the last quick fix, to fix the to mask the other problem, which was the core issue that hasn't been addressed. The ass is broke or irresponsible with your money while being broke. Now, this script is particularly dangerous when mental bandwidth is low and impulse control is weak. Impulse control is going to have people who have a financial plan, who have a financial budget, who's putting the right quantities of money away. Their budget is so tight and so stringent that they have no flexibility, and then they break down and impulse buy to get that dopamine hit to feel like, well, I should be able to afford X, Y, and Z because I've done A, B, and C, right? It convinces a person that they deserve the purchase that they're buying, but this behavior is a form of self-medication with debt, and the side effects are going to be damaging. I agree that mindless consumerism is not good for people. It's not, but we've grown accustomed to it. And that's why I keep going back to them kids with their parents wasting all their food stamp money on prom. The fact is that those kids could have been taught something with that money, but they were shown how to waste it. The mindless consumerism, because their parents were so overwhelmed with financial stress that when they got this relief from all of this money, they got the dopamine rush as parents to be able to give their kids something in their lives that they were never able to give them kids before, where they're not going to be able to give that to their kids again. But because this is high school prom, the kids should be moving out and going to college shortly after this. So by the time this dopamine hit fade, the kids should not be there being a problem. But unfortunately, in broke families, you can't afford college. So the kids is going to be at the house wearing your damn nerves anyway. It's going to go from, this is the one thing I haven't talked about before as it relates to these prom things. Mom and dad, who's wasting all this money on the kids, is going to have that dopamine rush from making all these purchases. The Bentleys, the Aston Martins, the private jets, taking all the photos, taking all the videos, posting them up on social media. They're going to broke-minded community where everybody's going to praise them for being able to spend that extra money on their kids, give their kids something to remember. The kids are going to thank them, and their kids are going to behave positively in the midst of the moment while the money is being spent, while they're finally being overly showered with praise where they've otherwise had a life of struggle. So now they're going to be better children for their parents in the short term. But the problem is that after prom is over, after you return a rental car, after they take off that prom outfit, the kids is going to go back to being the same old kids. Now, mom and dad is going to have resentment. I just spent $20,000 on your prom and you can't even show me no respect. Now, the effort that went into the prom is no longer a gift. It's a burden, because now you're required to behave better and respect me more because I spent all this money on you. But since you don't respect me more, now I resent you for not respecting me after everything I did for you. But you don't respect the gift because the gift has strings attached to it. Now we have a toxic relationship with one another. That moment in time where all that money was wasted is a limited dopamine rush for everybody involved, with catastrophic consequences that follows it because it wasn't built on a foundation of stability. So yeah, the kids can look back when their kids are going to prom and think, yeah, my mom and them gave me a $20,000 prom. I might borrow money from a bank and get my kids a $20,000 prom. But the mentality is not going to be there, that I think that what I should have done with that money is put a down payment on my kids' tuition, or buy my kid a car cash up front so that they have guaranteed transportation to school and to work, or let me buy a house so that my kid always has a place to live, even if they got to catch the bus. That mentality was not there. foundational stability. That wasn't there. Even some of the rich people bribe the kids with money instead of spending some quality time with them. See, there's a little bit of a difference between, because we do that even as broke people. We do that with the younger kids. If you behave, I'll buy you a PlayStation. If you behave, I'll get you the new GTA 6 that just came out. If you do what I want you to do, I'll take you where you want it to go. If you stop worrying my damn nerves, I'll get you what you're asking me for. Oh, parents bribe their children, but that's not the dynamic that we're talking about here. We're not talking about a parent that has the capital to say, okay, I'm going to leverage your obedience with this money. That's a strategic move. What I'm saying is the dopamine hit that some parents get by saying, oh, let me buy my child's affection by buying all this stuff for them. Let me get my kid Jordans because they won't like me if I don't get them Jordans. Fuck those Jordans. If you don't like me, fuck you too. That's how it is. It's like, you're not a good parent if they haven't said I hate you at least one time. I mean, you ain't doing it right. You ain't parenting right unless the kids is pissed off at you for something. And once they get older, they should be able to look back at that exact same reason why they was mad at you and be able to honestly say, my parent was doing right by me and I just didn't realize it at the time. But if all you are is the prize to the child, where you're buying all of the things that they want, you're their buddy and you're buying their affections, at the end of the day, they're not going to have respect for you. They're going to have entitlement issues where they're going to expect you to do stuff for them, because if you don't, they're going to turn off their feelings for you. That's not good. But it's not about the wealthy individuals who put money into their kids' hands, because but that is a financial bad decision to say, oh, I'm sorry I didn't come to your recital. Here's a diamond necklace. Oh, I'm sorry I didn't come to your soccer practice. Here's a pony. Oh, I'm sorry I didn't come to your graduation. Here's a Porsche. Yeah, rich people do that. Rich people do that. But like I said, with MC Hammer, he had 500,000 people on payroll that he was paying $5,000 a month per person. He was paying over almost $500,000 a month in salary to people that was in his squad. He took care of the whole neighborhood. When all the people on stage was getting paid to be there, he had the most people on stage when he performed in history, and everybody got a check. But that wasn't financially responsible. Now, the final and perhaps most limiting script is going to be the linear income trap. The belief that the only way to earn more money is to trade more time for it, which is what a lot of the financially challenged working class individuals do, is they put in overtime at work to get paid. I get paid for my presence, so if I spend more time at work, I'll make more money. Right? The belief that the only way to earn more money is to trade your time for it. Right? So this is the classic employee mindset, not the owner mindset, where income is directly tied to the hours that you work. The trap lies in the fact that time is a finite resource that can never be recovered. And by linking earnings potential directly to workable hours, a hard ceiling is placed on your income. Being able to go to work every night, you working 10 hours a night, you work 5 nights a week, you're getting paid by the hour. It doesn't matter if you're getting $40 an hour or whatever. You are getting $40 an hour for 10 hours of work. That's what, $400 a night. Great. Fantastic if you're making that kind of money. 5 nights a week, $2,000 before taxes. Fantastic if you're making that kind of money. $8,000 a month, because you're only working 5 hours a week and there's only 4 weeks in the month. Fantastic. You're making $8,000 a month, but you are capped at that amount. In order for you to get more money, you have to either ask for a raise or you got to put in more hours. Glass ceiling scenario. is that I might be the exception. If parents spent more money on me, I would love them for it. Well, people say that, but the truth of the dynamic is going to be this, is that the way you feel about your parents when you have unconditional love for your parents got shit to do with what they spent on you. If you're going to have more affection for your parents because they spent money on you, then your feelings for your parents are conditional. So I would not agree with you when you say that you are the exception. I believe that, like everyone else, if you genuinely have love for your parents, whether they're shit parents or the best parents in the fucking world, your emotional attachment to your parents are non-conditional. Your affection for your parents are non-conditional. Whether you love them and you hate them at the same time, or you can't wait to spend more time with them. The fact is that your ability to be in the presence of your parents, your ability to make sacrifices for your parents, your ability to do things with your parents, to communicate with your parents, to interact with your parents, to look forward to your parents, to answer the phone when they call, to open a door when they show up, to organize your schedule when your parents superimpose themselves into your life. That unconditional behavior would occur whether they get something for you or not. Oh yeah, you'll be disappointed that they didn't get you shit, but they didn't get you shit last year, and they didn't get you shit the year before. They didn't get you shit for Christmas. So if they didn't get you shit for your birthday, does it really matter? I'm still going to communicate with you. I'm still going to interact with you the same way I interacted with you last year when you didn't get me shit. So if next year you get me something, am I going to spend more time with you now? No, my time is limited already. But I am going to be grateful. And I think that's what you meant. I'm going to be grateful for the things that you do for me. You take the money and spend some quality time with your friends. That's what some of the kids do. That's because they're not there for their family members. You give the kids money, they take the money and they go out and hang out with their homeboys. You buy them a car, they take the car and they're never at the house. You get them a phone, they're always on the phone. They're never in the house with you. Then if you tell them to get off the phone, it's my phone, I should be able to do whatever I want with it. But I'm still paying the bill. You should be able to acknowledge the provider of the phone. But you have to understand that if your child was unconditional, like for example, the dog. I got the dog sitting over here looking at me right now. The dog can't wait till you finish working. The dog can't wait till you get home. The dog can't wait till you wake up. The dog can't wait till you get back. The dog is always looking forward for that opportunity. Nah, you ain't gotta be kidding. Let's just go ahead and talk about that shit. The dog is always looking for the opportunity to re-express that attention. And there are times where the dog will come and try to give you affection and you move. You be pushing them. You don't want to be bothered. You're like, no, I don't want to be bothered. I got stuff to do. Stop. Right? And yet, and still, when you finish doing everything else that you got going on, you'll go over and give the dog hugs and everything to that effect. And the dog was waiting for that. Unconditional. Now, take a cat, for example. Fucker doesn't want to be bothered by you, could beat your ass. You got face all clawed up like Garfield until that motherfucker's hungry. Then it'll be your best friend to get something to eat. It is conditional. And that conditional behavior, that is the difference between the person that you want with you and the person you don't want with you. If you're only going to treat me well when you're getting something from me, then you shouldn't be here because I'm not always going to have it. Again, broke mentality. Since we know we're not always going to have it, we want to make sure that when we do have it, that it is given to the people who deserve it. Do cats remind us of somebody? Yeah, women. That's why they say men are like dogs. Women are like cats. Women use that the dog mentality as running around humping everything with a pulse. But truth be told, the morality of comparing a man to a dog is the unconditional loyalty that is given. No matter how bad you treat it, it's always there for you, looking for affection. Whereas women, being more like cats, will give you affection when they feel like it, but a lot of the times that affection is conditional. It is what it is. Now, the financial trap that we're going to be getting in here is particularly harsh, especially in economies where the costs are rising faster than the wages are rising. Recent data shows that even with wage growth, many Americans are falling behind due to the inflation. For instance, April 2026 wage growth was outpaced by inflation, with paychecks growing 3.6%, while the annual inflation rate grew 3.8%. When caught in the linear income trap, one must work progressively more just to maintain their financial positions, a direct path to burnout. Special shout out to Michael. His ass is later than a bitch. You probably were listening while you was painting, but he wasn't here talking. He said, just pay for it and be happy. Look, not everybody's got a Backpage membership, Michael. We can't just pay for it and have it delivered and just be happy when it show up. We can't Instacart the kitty cat. It just doesn't work. I know if we could. It's way cheaper these days. Shoot. Escaping this trap requires shifting from how can I work more to how can I create more value, and how can I decouple my income from my time. And this means building multiple financial levers beyond a single job. Michael says, 40 years ago, a barber could afford a home and a family of four. Nowadays, an attorney can't afford. Bro, attorneys are making like 40 to 60,000 a year. Attorneys now. You got a lot more attorneys these days because the average American is broke. The average American, the average attorney, even with a law firm, are more often than not, outside of car insurance claims, court-appointed attorneys, right? So most legal action, because the law requires for any major legal decisions that be made in your life, you are allowed the accompaniment of an attorney. And when you can't afford one will be provided for you. That is not just criminal law, that is all law. Now, there are small claims civil actions where an attorney will be at your expense. And there are some higher civil actions where since you're the plaintiff suing the other person, that you would have to pay for your own lawyer or get reimbursed for that lawyer. But a lot of the times in certain civil actions, with major civil decisions where you're the defendant in the legal action, you may be appointed an attorney. Now, they might still bill you after the fact, but they may waive the initial cost of the attorney on your way in to get you through the legal action because you can't afford it. Now, the reason why I'm talking about this is attorneys are not getting a lot of money per client. And as a result, they might have hundreds of clients at a time, more clients on their roster than there are days in the year, in order for them to manage the average $60,000 to $75,000 a year salary, where a lawyer that went to a 4-year institution for their bachelor's degree and another 2 to 4 year institution for their law degree passed the bar, so that they can now make the same quantity of money as a high school dropout in a fast food restaurant. So yeah, back in the day, 40 years ago, a barber could pay for a home and a family of 4. And nowadays, nurses and attorneys and doctors, which is what we're taught to go to school to be when we're not being an athlete, they're making less money than fast food restaurants and warehouse workers. It's a prestigious job though, but the difference between fast food workers and warehouse workers that could drop out of high school, not have all that student debt, and be making more money than going to college and having $200,000 worth of student debt, and now you're getting paid the same amount of money as a McDonald's worker or a Walmart worker or a mascot at Disney World. Like, I'd be madder than a bitch going to college and coming out broker than what I was before I dropped out. Because I believe the U.S. has about 4 times more lawyers than average in other countries. There's too many lawyers. There are tons of lawyers, but there are tons of legal action. I don't believe that there are 4 times. I could be wrong about this though, because I have not fact checked this yet. I don't believe that there should be more lawyers in America than most countries, but I don't believe that there are more lawyers, like 4 times more lawyers than the majority of countries, because I know that there are a lot of countries in Asia where the legal system is way stricter than America. While we got a lot of laws and we got a lot of lawsuits and we got a lot of criminal actions, I know that South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, Vietnam, Taipei, Indonesia, like there's a lot of stuff, like you can get citations for everything and you're in court for all kinds of things. And something like, especially in Asia, where there is a social reputation that is your line of credit, when you damage somebody's reputation, you actually have to pay restitution for that, which is all kinds of small claims courts. So while you can, like, you see this in K-dramas and stuff like that, that type of stuff is not just a skit for the TV shows. That's the culture where they're putting it into entertainment. And we're like, dang, they're like, oh, I'll sue you for, ruining my name. And you're thinking like, shit, that's some bullshit. that's common behavior. Now, their legal system doesn't happen the way our legal system happens. So I don't know how many judges and lawyers that they have, but I don't believe that we have the most lawyers, but we in fact could, because we fuck up a lot. And I say that we fuck up a lot, honestly, because for us to be the largest GDP or the largest income generating country in the world, and we are still broke as fuck, 70% plus of us are broke as fuck, we're making a lot of mistakes revolving around impacting our finances. Oh, I missed a comment here. He said, if you work to live, you are on an inflation hamster wheel. I'm not going to say an inflation hamster wheel, because if you're working to live and inflation is going faster than you're making money, you're on an uphill slope covered in ice with rollerblades on. Your ass is not making progress. You are backsliding if you are working to live with inflation on your ass. You 1 step forward and 3 steps back. It's like playing Chutes and Ladders. You just when you thought you made it, you owe way more money than what your paycheck just came in. And that's where the broke mentality comes from. That dopamine rush of relief to impulse buy on some bullshit that you otherwise didn't need. That's why. One of the things that we're going to get with this linear income is going to be the increasing value per hour, because acquiring a new skill to command a higher salary for the same amount of time is going to be one of the things that you would have to do to improve this. Negotiating compensations. Because if you research the market value and advocate for fair pay, and this comes with a great risk, because when you're negotiating compensations, just like when Steven just got his raise recently, certain things the company is willing to do and certain things the company is not willing to do. Two things you have to think about: what will they give you versus what you need, versus your ability to relocate to another job that is willing to give you what you need. Then rationalizing what you need versus what you want, and recognizing that if they don't give you what you want, but they give you what you need, or at least they kind of reasonably get close to what you need, that you stay where you are until you can find a way to do better. Creating scalable income is another way to break this trap. Generating income disconnected from time, which is one of the reasons why I tell you guys to put money into a brokerage account before anything else, because putting your money into a brokerage account is not the only way to invest. It is not the fastest way to invest. It is as volatile as peer-to-peer lending, but the only difference is that the stability of putting your money into a dividend-paying brokerage account, that while that company hasn't gone bankrupt, that company will continue to give you consistent dividends. You are more likely to get more stable returns on investment from a dividend paying brokerage account than what you would hoping that the person you gave all your money to pays you back with interest. If you did peer-to-peer lending to legal action, since we recognize that there's so much legal action in America, that if you contracted into the legal action of certain lawsuits where you know that lawsuit is going to pay a decent quantity of money, you contract yourself into that lawsuit with the guarantee that once it settles, that you get X number of dollars back. You might put up $10,000 to get $12,000 or $15,000 back. Fine. The only problem with the two problems you have with that is, one, it might not settle for as much as you thought, and you might not have enough money to get what you were expecting to get off of it. Two, it might take a long time to settle the case. The third option, which does happen from time to time, is that in those situations is that the person that you put your money up for lost their position in the case, which you lose your investment in that case. Now, if you're looking at an open and shut case like car insurance accidents, where you're willing to offer $5,000 at a time to car insurance victims, or not victims, but litigations, where they're guaranteed to get paid, and you only put up close to 10 or 20% of whatever they might get back. And for every $5,000 you put up, you get back $6,250 back. You're good. You're in those situations. The average litigation, especially if it's settled out of court, is going to last 6 to 9 months. So you put up $5,000 and you get an extra $1,200 back towards the end of the year, which is way larger of an interest return than what you would get off of investing in brokerage accounts. Now, the problem that you have to do with that, you got to do a couple things. One, you got to separate your money that you're investing in this with from your day-to-day income. Two, you have to partner with attorneys that have financially challenged clients that are going to need a small capital loan, short-term loan, to cover them until they get their settlement. Three, you would have to draft a decent contract that is actionable, that makes sure that you will get paid first, before the lawyer gets paid or after the lawyer gets paid, but before the client gets paid, so that you get your percentage out of the money. If you partner with the lawyer, where the lawyer now says, we have funding opportunities to hold you over until the case resolves itself, now you just have to be able to answer the phone, because whenever the attorney calls or texts you and says, hey, we got a client that needs some money, you've got to have the money available to lend them, right? But if you say have $100,000 that you're going to give no more than $10,000 or $15,000 to each client, you're looking at potentially being able to juggle 10 legal actions at a time, where you, for every $100,000 you put up, you'll get $12,500 or $13,000 back, which that's like 13% return on investment year over year. Michael says, why do you think they call it a broker edge account? Because they couldn't call it a broke ass account. The age of brokenness. Now, negotiating compensation is going to be requiring you to research the market in order for you to advocate for fair pay. Then you want to create scalable income. And this is one of the things that I usually talk to you guys about on Tuesdays, because creating scalable income requires you generating income disconnected from your time. And this is going to include investing, where money works for the earner, not the earner working for the money, or creating assets like books, courses, or businesses with systems that operate independently, where you can create ebooks or something like that, put them up on your personal website and sell copies of your book, or create blueprints and organizational strategy plans and this, that, and the other, and sell copies of that in a PDF file where people pay per download off of your website in order for them to get your information off of the website so that they can do what they need to do. Fantastic opportunities if you create your own stuff. And this is a more automated system than most of the ideas that we come up with, specifically because there is one where you can buy the licensing to sell somebody else's already created stuff. But the problem that you have with that is that you have to find a valuable product and then give them a couple $1,000s so that you have the legal right to sell their product on your website, even if you are selling their ebooks. Then you have to make back the money that you spent on their licensing. Hopefully that you have an unlimited timeline in the licensing, where it's not just like, oh, I'm gonna give you $1,000 for 5 years kind of thing. It's like, I'm gonna give you $1,000 for my ability to generate revenue off of selling your product kind of situation, right? Or contract yourself into a situation where you're going to give them a percentage of each one that you sell or some shit like that, where you have to be more detailed about your usage of the selling of their product. But however you work it out, they would get paid from you because you got paid to sell their product, where you would ultimately be selling their product for more than what they're selling their product. Because, I mean, you know, they're not going to take a financial loss because you're promoting their product. So if you create your own product, you don't have to work on licensing. And when you automate ebooks, it doesn't matter if you automate ebooks on Amazon. It doesn't matter if you automate ebooks on anywhere, where it's Shopify, whatever. When you start selling this stuff online, there's no maintenance. You just keep the domain alive. You keep the links effective to receive payment. And the only transactions you're going to have is when somebody contacts you and says that the download didn't work, where you're looking at the transaction to see if they paid. And then after they pay, you send them a free link to the download from the download. And that allows you to be autonomous because the website runs itself. You're living life. And then every now and again, you're checking your emails and you're sending them the links. He says, millionaires buy art for one thing, tax write-off. Then the art is sent to auctions where another millionaire purchases it for twice the value and donate it to a museum for a bigger tax write-off. That's right. Franchise licensing. Yes, exactly. Exactly. 1.5 cents on every product sold. Coke products, Warren Buffett. There you go. There you go. Perfect example. Perfect example. Now, individuals programmed with time equals money script often only see one solution for needing more money, which is work more hours, get an extra job, right? Which leads to more exhaustion for a small temporary pay increase. Now, these 5 invisible scripts, the scarcity mindset, the avoidance cycle, the poor identity, and the emotional spending traps, and the linear income trap can be rewritten. This is not an overnight transformation. Nothing that we talk about on this show is something that can be done overnight, but a process of taking small deliberate actions to create new neutral pathways and habits that overwrite the old destructive programming. So we've got 5 practical, actionable counter scripts that you guys can utilize to offset some of the ones we've been talking about for the last 2.5 hours. The first counter script for the scarcity mindset would be the abundance action. Pay yourself first. We always talk about that. Michael says it on a regular basis. The action of setting up an automatic transfer of any amount, $5, $20, $50, from a checking account to a separate investment account, such as a low cost stock market index fund on payday, is one of the best ways to get started with this, paying yourself first. Now, you have the capability to manually transition a percentage of your income to investment opportunities. The only downside to the manual transition is you have to have the high motivation and morale and determination to make that transaction occur, no matter what your financial situation looks like. You got to pay deduction this month because you didn't work as many hours, but you're still going to take that $300 out and put it into your brokerage account. Didn't do that. But if you know that the least amount of money you're going to put into your brokerage account is $50 a month, you can set that up automatically. And then if you're going to add to it an extra $100, $200, $300 because money is good, you can put more in there. But if you set up a base, bare minimum automatic transaction, you're guaranteeing that you're putting something towards yourself. So let's say that you want to do no less than 10% of your income. You look at how much money you're making. If you're making $2,000 a paycheck, that's $200. If you want to put up $200 a month, you're doing $100 a paycheck. That, if that's what you're doing, is $100 a month, $50 a week, then you're doing that out of your paycheck bi-weekly, right? Or $200 a month where it comes out of your first check but not your second. Either way, you set it up where the money's just gone and you know it's gone. Because by the time you look at the account, my paycheck minus the money that already came out. Michael says, your life is not written in stone, so you have to prepare for the future, which means you can change your life from the way it is to the way you want it to be by proactively putting those steps to get there. This is not the way it's always going to be if you put the effort into making it different. But it can get worse and it can get better. Now, why paying yourself first works? This strategy bypasses fear and decision fatigue. Automatic payments takes away from your requirement to decide to make that transaction, which is part of your decision fatigue. It bypasses your fear of not having enough money because it automatically took the money and put it somewhere else. So now the only thing you have to think about is where the money will go now that it's already in the investment. The money is invested before it can be spent, serving as a psychological and physical act that signals to the brain that there will be enough money regardless of what happens, and that the one investment that you're investing in is the future, and that future is capable of being invested in without a short-term loss. A lot of times people believe that you have to take a short-term loss in order to get a long-term gain, and that's not the truth. You can redirect negative discretionary spending to future long-term gains, which allows you to be able to still maintain a stable standard of living and still invest towards your future so that you don't have to worry about where money will come from in the future. He said it will get worse if you don't. Damn right, it's going to get worse. Inflation is going to get higher. You're going to get older. And the older you get, the less people are willing to help you. People treat men like cars more than men compare women to cars. The older you get, the less valuable you are to the magnitude of being broke. So not too many people want to fix an old car the same way not too many women want to fix an old man. When you reach a certain age, beyond retirement, 75 years old or whatever, then society starts showing pity on you. And because they don't want to see the elderly suffer, they will put a little bit of effort into making sure that you have something. But that doesn't change the fact that you will have nothing until somebody pities you. So in order for you not to go through that experience, you have to, while you're able, create an able-bodied system that will make you independent in your feeble age. And that's not something that people think about. Oh, I can do it all by myself, until you can't. And when you can't, you need enough money to pay somebody else to do it for you so that they will be glad to wipe your ass because you can't do it for yourself. I'm trying to told you. The counter script number 2 is going to be for the avoidance cycle. The clarity habit helps with the avoidance cycle. 15-minute money dates. And this isn't you going out and hanging out with no chicks. The action here is to schedule a 15-minute weekly appointment to open your mail, log into all your bank accounts and all of your credit cards. This is something that you do by yourself. Or if you're in a joint relationship where you have another financial partner, that y'all can do this together. The only goal is to look at and be aware of the current status of everything. Not every time the mail comes in every week, not throughout the day, not every night before bed, just once a week for 15 minutes. Why this works? It builds the habit of visibility and desensitizes the nervous system to the fear of confronting finances. It teaches the brain that looking at numbers is not a threat, but a simple gathering of data. You cannot change what you did, and you cannot change what you don't see. Now, script number 3, we're going to be countering the poor identity with the learner's identity. And this is going to be something that I had talked about an hour and a half ago. In this action, you're going to take this week to listen to one reputable financial podcast episode like mine, read one chapter of a personal financial book, and or watch one additional educational video about how to invest. The goal is not to become an expert overnight, but to simply learn. Why is this going to work for you? Adopting the identity of I am someone who is learning about money is non-threatening and does not conflict with past experiences. It requires only curiosity and shifts the identity from being bad with money to figuring things out. So yeah, my credit score looks like shit, but I'm figuring things out. On-time payments are happening. Last charge-off might have been several years ago. Nothing else is in collections. Nothing else is behind. Everything's on time. Debt to income is low. Debt to credit is low. Utilization is low. Things are getting better, right? Figuring things out. It starts creating a whole new identity for you. He says, never check mail on Fridays and Mondays. You want to go into the weekend worrying, same as on Monday. Well, I don't know about that. Typically, from what I see, at least with online banking, you can see the bills sooner than what you do if you wait until the mail comes in. The bill typically generates 1 to 2 weeks before the mail shows up on your doorstep. And you typically only have 1 to 2 weeks from the day that you get the paper copy in order to pay the bill. Unless you do what I do and pay your bills a couple months in advance. Then you're getting a bill this month for next month, or you're getting a bill this month that shows how much they took off, which gives you the ability to put back that amount so that you always have a buffer. If you're only checking your mail once a week, and you're saying, well, we're not going to check the mail on Monday and we're not going to check the mail on Friday. If the first was on Thursday and the bill is due by the 5th, the problem is Thursday was the first. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, you have not looked at this bill. Now on Tuesday, when you look at the bill, it's 24 hours behind. My observation on your logic to be able to incorporate what you're saying, if you recognize that your billing cycle for most of your bills, because your credit card bills are going to have an expiration date, your phone bill is going to have an expiration date, and these are things that you can check online. Your mortgage has a due date, and some nowadays lenders have the ability to access your account online. You should 2 to 3 weeks before the first of the month, 1 to 2 weeks before your last paycheck in the current month, look at all of the bills due for next month. Now, if we're going to follow your logic and say only look at this on Tuesday, Wednesday, and potentially Thursday, where Friday through Monday, you're just not going to fuck with it. You would calendar on your calendar a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. I would recommend that if you have a day off on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, that's the day that you specifically go and look at those bills on your day off, where you don't have other things that are affecting you. And then check and see what those bills are. Because this isn't organizing yourself to pay the bill. This is you observing the transactions that's already occurred versus transactions that are potentially pending. You said, well, bills are auto pay. Bills aren't auto pay yet. Bills will be auto pay when you set up auto pay. But when you set up auto pay, one of the things that you've got to do for auto pay is check the account periodically to make sure that the money that was supposed to be there was deposited there. Now, that in the very least is still something that has to be done before you know a bill is due. Why is that? And I told you guys before plenty of times to have multiple bank accounts for multiple reasons. If you have auto pay, let's say, for example, your mortgage is $2,000 a month, and that's the only thing coming out of that bank account. You're wire transferring $2,000 into that account 2 weeks before the mortgage is due. You can forget that account in theory, as long as you can verify 2 weeks before that, or 1 week before that mortgage is due, that the $2,000 got transferred. Right? Now, imagine light bill, water bill, gas bill, all coming out of the same bank account. Auto pay, phone bill, auto pay. These are, the phone bill is a fixed rate, but the utility bills are variable rates based on usage. You might have auto pay where it will automatically charge your account whatever is owed. The problem with that is that your water bill might be $45 a month in some months, and it might be $75 in others. Your light bill might be $100 in some months and $300 in others. As a result, since you cannot guarantee that it is a flat rate, you still have to make sure that there's at least enough money to cover the bill before the bill is due. So you still got to go back and at least look at the account and see what's been done. And then if more money was charged to the account than what you expected, you still have to put more money in there to cover the difference. So while auto pay is a good way to go to make sure that the bills get paid on time, and especially if you're anything like me, you're going to set the auto pay to be done before the bill is due, not the day that the bill is due. That way, if something happens before auto pay kicks in, you have more time to manually pay this bill with another payment source. He said, only thing I see is the receipt in the mail. Yes. If auto pay is set up and the money is in the account already, then the only thing you're checking the mail for, if you don't already have online billing, is them mailing you a receipt that the bill is already paid. And if you're paying the bills in advance, they should be selling you a $0 balance where nothing is due, but this is how much that they took out of your account, which means that this is how much you should put back into your account whenever you feel like it. So Jake said, I love politics because it's fun. Political culture is all sunshine and rainbows. Okay. Special shout out to Jake. Now, script number 4, counter scripting the emotional spending would be the pause protocol. This is going to be the 48-hour rule, which is one of the reasons why I was telling Michael, like, hey, if you're saying that you're not going to check your bills on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Monday, so that you're not stressed out on the weekend and you're not stressed out on Monday, assuming that the busiest part of your day is Monday, because some people actually have their off days in the middle of the week and then their weekend is all work. If you implement a strict 48-hour rule for any non-essential purchases over a set amount, for example, $50, instead of buying it, write the item on a list, like a wish list of some sort, and revisit it 48 hours or a couple of weeks after you decided that you might want to do, you want to buy that. What I usually do when I'm doom scrolling on shopping apps on my cell phone, because I only look for essentials, new garbage cans, security systems, washing materials, the banner for the podcast, you know, stuff that I will put to use for a long period of time. But the fact is that do I need it now or can it wait until later? Because, like, for example, a soundboard would be fantastic for me, but I'm not paying $80 for a soundboard right now. But it would bring a little bit more entertainment to the podcast. What I do is when I see something that I find valuable to me, I will send myself a link or save that page, bookmark it in my email history, my Google history, and then go back to that link when a week or month or a year from now, and go back to that link. And if that link is still active and I still want that product and its current price, because the price is going to change, is still what I want to pay for it, then I buy the item. The item would have been lingering in my history for several months to a few years, sometimes, depending on what it is, before I actually go get it. Very rarely do I allow myself to impulse buy. And those rare occasions where I do impulse buy, it is something that I actually need now that I can't do without. Like, I just realized I needed to go buy some brand new garbage cans and a new meal box. But I'm not buying it this week. I might buy it next month and get it. Because they're just dropping stuff on the front door. I'm sitting over here like, bruh, like, what if the ground was wet? So now I'm just like, shit, I need to put one of them drop boxes out there by the road so that they can just put everything into the drop box by the road and just know this is gonna hold everything down. Now, why does waiting 48 hours work? The dopamine driven urge to buy is an emotional wave that will pass. This is a phase. After 48 hours, the emotional charge faded, allowing for a rational rather than emotional decision. In most cases, the desire for the item will have diminished, but there are going to be some times where it hasn't. However, by the time you make the purchase, you acknowledge willfully if this is a purchase for entertainment and pleasure or a purchase for necessity. Buying new rims for your car is not a necessity. Buying new tires because your tires are flat is a necessity. Buying a new stereo system for your car is not a necessity. Rebuilding your blown transmission is a necessity. When you're able to gauge the purchase as a necessity versus a luxury, while you may still make that transaction, you have willfully accepted and potentially budget it from the time you wanted it until the time you got it, the capabilities to buy that. Counterscript number 5 for the linear income trap. The leverage mindset. The 1 hour research project that you're going to do. And I know that a lot of people are, shoot, why do I do research? Because, I mean, if you're knowledgeable, then you will be more successful. The more you know. Remember G.I. Joe? Now you know, and knowing is half the battle. Remember reading Rainbow? Come on now. They were teaching us that in the cartoons when we was kids, that knowledge is power. Right? High school rock. Now, the action that you're going to perform here is going to be spending 1 hour out of the week using every site that you can get your hands on. Glassdoor, LinkedIn Salary, and PayScale to research the market rate for your current job and your skill sets. The goal, only to gather data. Why is this going to work? The action shifts focus from time to value. Instead of thinking about working more hours, you start thinking about whether they are being compensated fairly. You want to see if you are being compensated fairly for the value that you provide. Now, this information is going to be leverage that can catalyze a raise negotiation or reveal a key skill that would dramatically increase earning potential. It doesn't always guarantee that you're going to get that earning potential, but it does increase the capabilities to request it. Just because you show up every day doesn't make you valuable. But if you're that guy that's the only reason why the store didn't close today was because I was the only employee on the floor, that level of value, which ultimately shows that if more productivity occurred when I worked alone than what it did when we had a team of 5, that is my value. You can make more product or make more productivity and save money on productivity if you gave me more money and left me here by myself, as opposed to you hiring 5 or 7 people to do less than what I do when I'm here by myself. The process of overcoming these psychological scripts is not instantaneous. It involves a gradual shift through the consistent application of new habits and thought patterns. Hope can compound alongside financial interest. Over time, facing financial data can transform from a source of anxiety into a routine of acting out of control, your own individual control, not just like acting out of control, like the act of being in control of yourself. Now, the identity of being bad with money can be replaced by the quiet confidence of I'm figuring this out. The power gained from resisting an impulsive purchase can become more rewarding than the temporary high of retail therapy, meaning that you buy stuff to make yourself feel better. And taking proactive steps, such as researching your market value and negotiating for better pay, can be both terrifying and profoundly empowering. Financial freedom is not yet achieved, but the invisible prison of self-limiting beliefs is no longer inescapable. The walls of this prison are going to be built not of steel, but of your beliefs, and those beliefs can be dismantled. The journey out of financial struggle is a process of 1,000 small, conscious choices that rewrite the invisible scripts governing your life. It begins not with a windfall, but with a decision to stop being a victim of your own programming and become the architect of your own mind. Now, the real work is going to begin now. So, as you get to that work, I'm going to start by saying, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So, ladies, please make it make sense. Fellas, I give you all this information to make you guys higher value men. I expect that you take the time out of your life to proactively look over the things that are inside of your control and find the things you don't like and put forth the effort to improve them. Then take the remaining time to navigate around the things that are outside of your control so that your life can become better and more satisfactory to your own expectations. Ladies, while this is a male-driven podcast from a male's perspective, you can take the information that I give you and utilize it to make yourselves higher value women as well. By proactively finding your 20 or 30-year plan, reverse engineering it to what you can and need to do today so that you can stick to those goals today will put you in a position where you will find, if you keep your eyes and ears open, the potential partner that has the right character, personality, drive, ambition, integrity, motivation, dedication, where you can evaluate his goals and his goals mesh with your goals and y'all can accomplish y'all's goals together. You will find that two people can accomplish achieving $1 million faster than one. But it requires the both of you to have the end goal of long-term satisfaction, not short-term gratification. Because if one of you is building for the future and the other one is living for the present, you guys will never succeed. So with that being said, I want to thank you guys for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I will see you guys tomorrow night.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate myself.